Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, grab your magnifying glass today because we are wading into the very specialized world of high-end aquarium keeping.
We are, and we're not just looking at research papers this time.
No, not at all. We're actually analyzing the personal notes of a dedicated fish keeper who, on a routine trip to their local store, stumbled upon a label.
A label so enticing, but also so fundamentally misleading, it kicked off this whole investigation.
Exactly. An entire biological and logistical deep dive.
It's just a perfect case study, really. It shows how marketing and, well, biological fact can collide in these hobbies.
So our mission today is to take you through that entire journey. We're going to start with the initial allure, the I want that moment.
Then we'll get into the hard science, the correction, and finally the staggering, just monumental reality of what it actually takes to care for this animal, the one being sold as a simple freshwater GT.
And what really jumps out from the source material is just how specific this sighting was. I mean, our author, this is someone who knows the trade, right?
Oh, absolutely. Not a beginner.
They describe this fish as, I'm quoting here, unique, aggressive, and altogether unknown.
I mean, you can just picture it, can't you? You're walking past all these tanks week after week.
Right, and then suddenly there's this powerfully built silver predator staring back at you. It's clearly dominating its tank, and there's just a little tag that says Freshwater GT.
It's an electric moment of discovery.
Yeah.
And that label, Freshwater GT, I mean, that is a siren song for a certain kind of hobbyist.
What do you mean by that, a siren song?
Well, it promises the thrill of a legendary marine sport fish, the giant Trevally, but it suggests you can keep it using, standard freshwater methods.
Ah, so it's selling an apex predator experience without the headache.
Without the perceived logistical nightmare of a massive marine setup.
Exactly. Okay, so let's start right there with the allure. Why is the name GT so powerful?
Yeah.
I mean, for those of us who aren't into big game fishing, what's the big deal?
The giant Trevally, Caranx ignobilis, is practically a legend in that world. It's the definition of aquatic power. Immense speed, aggression. It's what big fish keepers dream of housing.
So seeing that little GT tag, it just instantly elevates it.
It takes it out of the realm of a standard pet and puts it into something else. And our source noted the fish was already aggressive and unique.
Which just fed right into that appeal.
It amplified it, yeah. They weren't just thinking about buying a pet. They were contemplating acquiring a miniature living challenge.
And the source just comes right out and says it. They were intrigued and quite keen on acquiring one right away.
That tells you everything.
It really does. It shows you how strong that impulse is. I mean, this was an experienced keeper, not a newbie. And the rarity, the predatory nature, it almost sealed the deal on the spot.
And that initial enthusiasm, that's key to understanding the trade itself. The fish looked healthy, it looked impressive.
And the label suggested a solvable problem.
Exactly. It just needs a big freshwater tank. But that momentary excitement, that's where the critical knowledge has to kick in. If they'd walked out with that fish, they would have signed up for a catastrophic outcome down the line.
Which leads us perfectly into the biological investigation. Because as tempting as that impulse buy was, thankfully, our authors stopped.
They stopped and they asked the right question.
What is the scientific reality behind this Freshwater GT label?
And this is the necessary critical correction. The species in question, the genuine giant Trevally, Caranx ignobilis, it is fundamentally a marine fish.
Okay, so not freshwater.
Not freshwater. It is adapted for the high salinity of the open ocean as an adult. Period.
So then why is it in a freshwater tank at the aquarium store? Is the store just lying, or is there something else going on?
This is where we get into the biological nuance, and it's, I think, the most valuable takeaway for you, the learner. The label isn't entirely a work of fiction.
Okay.
It's an exploitation of a temporary phase in the fish's life cycle.
A temporary phase.
That's right. Juvenile GTs, especially the ones that hatch near coastal areas, they actually have a strong physiological tolerance for freshwater and brackish environments.
So in the wild, they're using places like river mouths or mangrove estuaries as like a nursery.
Precisely. They're protected zones, they're rich in food, and crucially, they keep the smaller fish away from the huge predatory adults out in the ocean. It's a survival mechanism.
And their bodies can just handle it, the lack of salt.
While they're small, yes, their internal systems, specifically their their kidneys and gills, are highly efficient at something called osmoregulation in different salinity levels.
Okay, osmoregulation.
Yeah.
Let's unpack that without getting too deep in the weeds. That's basically their body's ability to manage its salt and water balance.
That's exactly right. You can think of it as a temporary superpower.
I like that. A temporary superpower.
As juveniles, their bodies can handle it. They can keep the necessary salt in while flushing excess water out when they're in a freshwater environment. But, and this is the big but, as the GT matures and grows into its massive adult size, that physiological requirement shifts.
Dramatically, I'm guessing.
Dramatically. The effort becomes too great, the stress compounds, and salt water transitions from just a preference to an absolute physiological necessity.
So it's like a built-in biological expiration date for their freshwater tolerance.
That's a great way to put it.
The trade is selling the fish during its protected nursery phase, and they're basically betting the buyer won't understand the adult requirements until it's way too late.
That distinction is paramount. You are not buying a fish that's going to stay a foot long and be happy in your freshwater tank. You're buying a powerful marine predator on a timer.
And when that timer runs out,
To survive and thrive long-term, Caranx ignobilis requires full marine salinity. Ignoring that leads to, well, irreversible health issues, stunted growth, and eventually mortality.
and that biological reality, that timer, it leads us straight into the logistics.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
Yes, it does.
Because the author, having done the basic research on the scientific name, realized this wasn't just a matter of, adding a bag of marine salt to a tank.
No! This is the monumental reckoning, the thing that stopped them in their tracks.
They had to confront the true scale of the adult fish.
And this is where we have to connect the biology, a solitary, powerful apex predator, to the infrastructure you would need. Most hobbyists they can't grasp the physical scale.
So let's talk about those staggering metrics, because this is the aha moment. This is what shifts the perspective from cool pet to
industrial infrastructure project.
yes. So what are we actually talking about here, size-wise?
We are talking about an animal that can reach up to 170 centimeters in length.
Hold on, 170 centimeters. That's,
Yeah.
what is that, almost 6 feet long?
It's nearly 6 feet long. And the weight, they can exceed 80 kilograms.
80 kilos. Wait, 80 kilograms is. That's the average weight of a small adult human.
Yep. So you are essentially trying to house a 6-foot, 175-pound missile in your living space.
A missile that needs to be swimming constantly.
Constantly.
So housing a fish that weighs as much as a washing machine, you're going to need a very specific kind of tank. We're not talking about a 125-gallon tank from the pet store.
Not even close. I mean, not even in the same universe. If you're going to ethically house a predator of that size, one that needs space to turn and hunt and move, you're looking at a system that minimally starts at 3,000 gallons.
3,000 gallons.
3 to 5,000 minimum. And because it's marine, that entire volume has to be maintained at perfect salinity, perfect stability, perfect clarity.
You're basically turning a room in your house into a dedicated, climate-controlled utility space.
You absolutely are. That scale means you need industrial-grade equipment. You need protein skimmers the size of small barrels, massive sump systems.
Which would have to be in another room, right?
Yeah.
Because of the noise?
Another room, yeah, for noise and moisture. And you need constant high-volume filtration just to manage the bioload. An 80-kilogram predator eats a lot.
And produces a lot of waste.
An incredible amount. The water quality requirements are extreme.
I'm just thinking about the logistics of the salt.
Yeah.
Just getting the salt needed to maintain 5,000 gallons of marine water must be insane.
It is. You're not buying little packets from the pet store. You'd be ordering bulk salt mix, probably hundreds of pounds at a time, just for routine water changes.
Wow.
And you need the equipment to monitor it constantly, the specific gravity, the water density, making sure it's exactly what the fish's biology needs. The cost of electricity alone, just running the industrial pumps and chillers and lighting for that volume. It's astronomical.
It's the sheer complexity and the cost that ultimately deterred our source.
Yeah.
It really reinforces that phrase they use, a monumental undertaking.
It is. They didn't just look at the price tag on the fish. They priced out the life required to sustain it.
And that's the beauty of their reflection. They realized the commitment wasn't just financial, it was physical, too.
It was. They said their wallet was not fat enough, and then they pointed to their aging body as being unable to sustain the costs and works associated with such a massive saltwater system.
That says so much. That's the daily labor, the lifting, the maintenance.
A sheer volume of water you have to move. It's an immense amount of work.
So you have this massive disconnect. A simple label at a local store, offers this cheap, small, aggressive little novelty fish.
And the reality demands dedicated construction, lifelong maintenance, and tens of thousands of dollars in infrastructure and running costs.
All just to keep a single apex predator healthy.
The impulse buy turns into a decade-long construction project.
Yeah.
One that requires you to fundamentally alter your home.
The research they did saved them. It saved them from a logistical and really an ethical failure.
Absolutely. They wisely chose to prioritize the animal's welfare over their own momentary desire for a unique pet.
So if we step back from this specific story, from the giant Trevally, what does this whole deep dive mean for the dedicated learner? For the enthusiast who's navigating these specialized markets?
It means the experience itself, even without buying the fish, was the most valuable lesson they could have possibly learned.
Right.
The author used that initial intrigue, that wow moment, to propel them into deep research about the true requirements of the species. They moved past the common trade name and looked at the actual science.
Which emphasizes the theme we always come back to. Always, always find the scientific name. That two-word Latin name, Caranx ignobilis in this case, that's the key.
That's the gateway to the truth. It strips away all the misleading marketing, all the temporary biological loopholes.
Exactly. The pursuit of that knowledge is your best defense against making catastrophic mistakes, especially in these kinds of hobbies.
Because the GT is not unique in this, not at all. So many species are sold as manageable juveniles.
Based on these little loopholes.
Only to grow into, well, monsters of size, expense, and requirement.
Which brings us to the final, provocative thought we want to leave you with. Something for you to mull over or explore on your own. Considering this common practice of mislabeling or just omitting the crucial adult requirements in specialized trades, what other magnificent, seemingly manageable species may be available in your local stores right now might require monumental, unanticipated resources as they reach maturity?
It demands that you think critically.
It does.
So always ask yourself, what is the 170 centimeter, 80 kilogram reality behind the small, enticing juvenile I'm looking at right now?
A crucial question for anyone pursuing knowledge where animals and complex systems intersect. Thank you for bringing your fascinating source material and notes to this deep dive.
It was a pleasure dissecting this biological timer.
We hope this exploration into the true scale of the giant Trevally has armed you with the critical knowledge you need to question the labels you see and to navigate your own fascinating fields of interest. Keep diving deep, keep researching the scientific names, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.